had a woman last night who had discovered her co-workers were talking shit about her behind her back.
Juicy.
And she was going to invite them to her Halloween party and then confront all of them in her apartment.
Spooky.
And she was like, do you think it's a good idea? And I was like, no.
Now, was that psychic you or was that you?
Yeah. All right, guys, we are here with Peter Antoniou. I am so excited. I found you on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. And I was watching your videos, blown away. As everybody knows on the show, I'm super into the woo-woo, the psychic stuff. So I guess my first question for you is, what are your gifts and how did you find them?
I think I was like a weird kid and like I was always into like the esoteric. Like my aunt reads like tea leaves and coffee grounds and palms and stuff. She's an old weird Greek lady. So like I watched her doing a lot of that. I bought my first tarot deck when I was 9.
Oh, very young.
We were on like a holiday in France and I saw it in like the grocery store and I was like, I don't really know what that is, but like I know I want it.
Yeah.
And like learned how to do that and then started developing stuff. And like I loved comic books as a kid. So I was like, oh, I want a superpower. I want to be able to like read minds like Professor Xavier. And in that way that kids do, I was just like, oh, I guess I'm just going to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And it was still the early days of the internet, so you could email people and they would be jazzed to have got an email and reply to you. So I emailed like psychologists and hypnotists and psychics and magicians and was just like, right, you know, how do I do this? And
You really had it together when you were 9.
Yeah, I was very forceful. Just, a pain in the ass for my parents, I'm sure. And started exploring loads of bits like that. And it was just like a party trick that I did for like friends at parties or at recess and stuff. I never thought that it would be a career or building into anything like that. It's sort of,
Were your parents like, how are you doing this? Like, I
think my parents have been slightly bemused by every life choice I've ever made.
Sure.
So I think they were just used to it by then. Because, I decided to learn how to play the cello about the same time I started reading minds. And, like, I then learned how to fence and, like, became a fencing coach.
Cool.
So, like, I'm really living that, like, 1800s lifestyle.
Yeah, I'll say.
And it makes me sound way fancier than I am as well. Because, like, where I grew up in London, it was, like, quite an underprivileged area. Like, a bunch of people I went to high school with are now in jail for, like, gang-related murders and stuff.
Yeah.
And because it was, like, the rise of knife crime in London. So the
London do be knifing.
Yeah, I'd always prefer a knife crime than a gun crime. Because, like, when someone gets stabbed to death, you're like, you've had to put the work in there.
Yeah, you can't blow my head off with a knife.
Yeah. And so the local government were like, oh, we're going to invest a lot in, music programs and sports programs. So fencing became an option. Because, when knife crime's a problem, what you want to do is teach
kids swords.
Yeah, teach blade skills. And then, like, I was, like, at the perfect age where I was at the age when it started. And then as I was kind of aging out of their programs, they were all being defunded. So it was, like, very lucky to get that thing. But it gave me a bunch of, like, social class markers that are not my own.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, like, being in America, people hear this voice and they're like, oh, you're so fancy. Whereas, like, any British listeners know, like, oh, this is a poor voice. Like, he's a poor guy.
Oh, it's not a posh accent.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you can identify that from someone's voice.
Did your aunt, you said reads tea leaves? Was she your mentor in any of this?
She was like as encouraging as she ever has been. We'll put it that way. She's quite an aloof person.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So and she would like encourage it, but also she like learned all to do this stuff. And it's funny those memories like you have as a kid that like when you revisit them as an adult, you understand them so differently. Because like as a kid, I was like, oh, isn't it so cool that my aunt can do this? Isn't it nice that like she wants to help people through their stuff? She's just a messy bitch who lives for drama. Like she just wants to know who's having an affair. Okay. And I think that is, if I'm honest, the main reason I do what I do now is that I get to like roll into a room and be like, right, what's going on here? Like who's having an affair? Who hates who? Like tell me everything.
That's so funny. Well, yeah, because I was going to talk. I mean, I know that you said you like often don't use your skills when you're in relationships, but I'm like, I mean, that's such a mysterious. Someone's cheating on you or not? Like, if you have the power, you have the power.
Yeah, so it becomes harder the second I am personally involved in a situation because then when you want to be true starts clouding what you can see. And when I'm doing readings for other people, like I care about them in an abstract way. Like I care that, everyone's happy and everyone's safe, but like I don't have skin in that game in the same way. Whereas, being able to tell whether someone's even flirting with me, like hopeless.
Can you not tell?
No, not at all.
Guys can't tell with that.
They really can't.
No.
That's very strange. But yet they want women, but they don't know when they're very obviously being flirted with.
Yeah, and I
What's
think
that
like
about?
part of it is the like doubting yourself, and then also I am very conscious that like I never want to make an environment like uncomfortable for someone.
Sure.
And it is very easy to be like, oh, they're flirting with me, and then you've soured the whole thing. And I would rather, even when I get the inkling of like, I think this is flirting, I would rather err on, no, they're just being nice.
So do you wait for the woman to ask you out then?
Either like I'll either wait for them to ask, or like get to a point where I'm either like, this feels clear enough that I can say, and like I'm a big fan of just being really upfront and being like, hey, like I'm getting this vibe. If not, that's cool. Like, but I want to just lay this out because I would much rather just be very explicit. And I think that is one of the challenges is when people see what I do, they go, oh, well, I don't have to have those explicit conversations anymore because
he's going to know.
Because he'll know.
He'll just know.
And then it ends up causing issues. So.
Right. I mean, we do say a lot on the show, like men aren't mind readers. You have to tell them how you feel. You are a mind reader, but not in your own personal
you're still a man.
And I would rather like someone just told me because like something that I say a lot in the show when people get like nervous about being used is that like, oh, I'm not going to wander into anything you don't want me to talk about.
Okay, that's
and
good.
like, and if I start going down a path and you're uncomfortable, you can just like flag on the field, like we're stopping this.
Has that happened before?
A couple of times,
okay.
Yeah. And like sometimes we'll be on a track and I'll pick something else up, and I can see in their eyes they go, no,
don't do that.
and I go, okay, yeah, and then we just like drop.
Yeah.
Because as much as like I'm desperate to have a good show, it's more important that everyone has a good experience, and I will like tank a bit of the show if it means protecting someone.
If it means going home not knowing knowing you didn't ruin a person's life.
No, so what you put psychic in quotation marks when you write it on your Instagram. What are the quotation marks?
I think there is a lot of skills involved in what I do. So like, there's like a lot of body language. There's a lot of like sort of learning magic techniques and stuff.
Like mentalism?
Yeah. Mentalism's so cool.
And like, so I've learned all of those things, and like the classic like readings and tarot and all that stuff is part of it as well. And I just wanted to like, I don't want people to come to my show expecting that I should change their life in a moment. This is like a fun, like it should be the same energy you approach like reading a horoscope with. Like this is fun and it gets a moment and you get some reflection. But like, I wanted just a very early nod to, if you're coming to Zanies on a Wednesday, do not expect your entire life to have changed.
Right. Well, that's the problem, I think, though, because like you say, like, oh, just reading horoscopes, like they're fun. But now, like, especially now we've had this like reemergence of like new age spirituality. So people like live or die by horoscopes, by the tarot. Like I am very into tarot, but I kind of feel that same thing with you, like where you're like, I can read tarot, but when I read it for myself, which is really the only person who I read it for, I'm like, I feel so attached to it that I always get it checked by somebody else. And I feel like it's, pretty much every time what I've read for myself is what the reader also reads, but it's also steered me down wrong paths where I'm like, well, I wanted this to be true and it's 100% not true. And now we've wasted 6 months.
No, I don't trust the tarot.
So
I think the way that I always explain tarot when I give tarot readings to people is like, in it, the cards are not magic. It's your interaction with those cards.
Right.
And it's like reading a comic book with all the text stripped out.
Okay.
So you are looking at a story and saying, like, in life we tell ourselves stories. Like if you're in a car accident, you can say, oh, I was really unlucky that happened. Mm-hmm. Or you can say, oh, I was lucky that wasn't worse.
Right.
And those are both stories available to you. And which one you choose depends on how you see that thing. Mm-hmm. And the tarot is saying, here is a story that you can look at. You're going to put yourself in as the main character. Is the story that the card's telling more or less accurate than the story you're currently telling yourself? Mm-hmm. And then you can reframe everything like that. And it does get to the heart of a lot of issues.
Right.
But I think so often people, and I think this is like, as the world has got made chaotic, the baseline level of anxiety has increased.
Sure.
And I think any sort of divination is an attempt at like hacking being able to say, oh, I know what's going on. I can just relax. We're looking for comfort.
Yeah.
And I think that like one of the unfortunate things is that a good use of a reading is to make you more uncomfortable. It's meant to give you more questions than answers.
Interesting.
Because I think that's when, like, a good psychic, I think, doesn't tell you exactly what you should be doing with your life. They give you a better quality of question and a better, like, input into something so that you can take ownership. So you don't have to spend $150 every other week to go to someone's spare room and decide what you're going to do with your life.
Yeah.
So wait, are you walking around though knowing exactly what people should be doing with their lives and then watching them take misstep after misstep?
I can have my own opinions, but then again, like I'm also always aware that like I have a bias in my own head of what people should be doing. And like the longer term the thing is, the more like unexpected consequences there could be.
Yeah, and everybody's got their own path.
Yeah.
You know, who are you to disrupt it?
And yeah, sometimes you just have to, it's like being a parent, like sometimes you just have to watch someone make a mistake because you go, this is part of your journey, this is part of your learning, and if you don't make this mistake, then you're not going to get to these next few things.
Right.
Have you made mistakes in romantic relationships, we'll just say, because that's the main topic? Yeah.
All the time.
Like what?
I think, just like not having the clear communication. Like it's so easy to be like, oh, I want clear communication. But then like, you go, oh, I don't know. And like anxious and like, am I overstepping? And that sort of stuff. And I know that like the big challenge in the last couple of years as well is like, I'm on the road 5-6 days a week. So trying to like nurture that whilst also nurturing a career is
it's tough.
Very
Maintaining
difficult.
a bond like that is tough. You mentioned you worked at a psychic hotline?
Yes. So when I went to college, in order to pay my way through college, I sort of joined a psychic phone line. So I was like a British Miss Cleo.
That's what I was saying earlier before you walked in. I was like, oh, he's like Miss Cleo.
Yeah.
Except like you, I imagine you gave better advice.
I tried my best, So there was like two main services on the phone lines. There would be like the call thing, which is like you could pay per minute, but it was much more often that people booked like 10, 20, 30-minute readings. And there was also like an SMS service. So you'd log in and you'd reply to people's texts. And so it wasn't uncommon that I was doing like 40 to 50 text readings a day. And then I do like sort of 5 or 6 phone readings.
Do you tune into somebody's energy when you're texting them?
The texting is much, much harder.
Yeah.
And like I'm kind of going for like a slightly more like shotgun approach with that, where like I'll get a vibe of something, but then it's so much harder to be accurate. But then also I think like if you're texting a service, you're kind of expecting your own little like personal horoscope. It's like, that was fun anyway, and move on with your day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like it was not my experience that anyone who was texting in was really expecting like to deep dive on anything.
Yeah, because that's a phone call if you really got something going on. What kind of things did you learn about people? What were these people asking? Like when somebody specifically calls a psychic hotline, is it always, I would assume it's always about love?
Love, career, health, right?
Yeah, so there was like sort of the main categories are like, there's travel and health, education, like going back to school or that sort of stuff. Like, like romance, career opportunities, and then like money opportunities as well. Okay. And like there are very strict laws in the UK about what you can and can't talk about on those phone lines.
Oh, really?
Psychic hotlines?
Yeah.
What can't you talk about?
So like you cannot discuss health at all. Like you shut it down at every time.
That's good.
Right.
You can't discuss like investment opportunities or anything like that. You cannot discuss people being cursed or like cursing other people, like any of those discussions.
So
Have you ever read someone who you're like, I think you are cursed, but I can't say it?
No, I think like I've read people who are cursed by their own bad decisions. Like
that's most of us.
Like, did you even believe in cursing? I don't really believe in that.
I think that a lot of those things sort of become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Sure, right.
Yeah. I agree.
And there are a couple of people I encountered that would like hint at that they were cursed. And like
that seems like they want.
Hey Peter, I'm schmersed. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I like especially on the phone, so I was like, I can't engage with this, but also like I'm going to try and talk around this, so I'm not like violating any of the rules, but I want to give you like a magic feather to be like, hey, just like believe you're not cursed anymore.
Right.
Because it's like I was saying with the tarot, like it's the story you're telling yourself.
Well, because I think being cursed becomes people's identity. It's like a victim mentality.
It's
you're like,
poor me thing.
Well, yeah, and you're like, but it feels like it's like your life is going badly, but if you say you're cursed, it makes it sound like more interesting.
More exotic. Yeah.
And then you stop looking for opportunities as well, because you're like,
I'm
if you're
cursed.
Yeah, if you're out there saying, oh, I'm going to get this job, then you're looking for all those adverts and you're meeting those people, as if you say, oh, it's pointless because I'm cursed.
Right. That's if you're bringing cursed energy to the table, you're going to get cursed outcomes.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. The victim mentality is probably a very common one. What did you learn about romance through this experience with psychic hotlines?
I'd find often that like people had cast their partner. It was like, this person has been sent from central casting. They are filling this role. And it was much less about like, right, this is another human being that I have to interact with. It was more like, I've got a list of criteria. They tick those off. The things outside of those, we're just going to steamroller over.
Oh, that'll always go well.
I had a very frustrating 20-minute reading with a woman who was annoyed that her husband didn't preemptively do any of the housework.
Right.
And I was like, oh, you don't talk to him about any of this. And she was like, no, of course not.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, you need to talk to him about that. And she was like, no, he should just know.
What?
And I was like, sweetheart, he doesn't know. And you can spend the next 20 years of your life being pissed about this, or you can have this conversation, and those are your two options. And she was like, no, I just need you to psychically tell me when this is going to stop. And I was like, psychically, I can tell you it's going to stop when you have the fucking conversation with him.
That's so funny.
And that's not even, that's at that point, you're a therapist.
Yeah. It's there is a point, especially when I'm touring middle America, that I am just giving unlicensed therapy to straight cis white men.
Us too. Yeah. And they need it, so that's good.
Yeah. And it is crazy to me that people will come to my show rather than going to speak to her. And I will always defer to hey, this feels like something you should be seeing someone about. And they're like, oh, I don't need that. And I'm like, well, you just burst into tears the second I mentioned your son in a room full of people. So it does seem like you do need that.
Right.
People are very funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you ever feel because one of my problems with kind of the woo-woo stuff in general, and I don't say that disparagingly, we use that term a lot on here, but is that I feel like a lot of times it is preying on people who are in vulnerable situations. So has there ever been a time when you're whatever you're going through is too raw, I can't engage with you right now?
Yeah, and especially it's one of the reasons that I fully stopped doing private readings when the show took off.
Okay.
Is because I'm they are two different products.
Yeah.
The point of the show is it's a fun time, we're wowing you, it's me showing off. Whereas private readings are a very different thing.
Okay.
And and even in the private readings, I would say hey, this is something you need to go and talk to this professional about.
Right.
Because, I want this to be a fun moment of folk healing and talking and a space where people can be seen.
Yeah.
But the moment we're into medical issues or psychological issues, I'm just a fucking idiot. Don't ask me.
Way above your pay grade, yeah.
And I think sometimes it's just, I had a lot of success with saying to people hey, you should go and talk to a therapist about this in private readings. And then go, okay, yeah. And I think they're just looking for permission.
Yeah.
And especially in the UK.
I'm getting a vision. You should go see
I see you with a woman. She has a notepad on the couch.
There's lots of good drugs. And I think especially in the UK where we've got socialized medicine, that is a wonderful service that should be rolled out. But something I have discovered being in America and having the American thing is because I am a consumer in America, I do not feel any qualms about saying to my doctor, no, you're going to see me right now because I pay you a horrendous amount of money every month.
Yeah.
You're going to see me. Whereas in the UK, there is a ladder of this is bad, but not as bad as that person. And you're slotted in that.
Right.
And I think because mental health has been underfunded in the UK for so long as well, it's such a long wait to see anyone that people have that double barrel of the social stigma of asking for mental health and then being oh, well, it's not as bad as it could be. And then it's going to be along and they're looking for someone to say hey, no, you should see someone.
Right.
Yeah, I feel a common thread in all of humanity for all of time, but I think especially now, is looking for answers outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that for health and psychological issues, not that therapy is a really, really helpful tool, and obviously doctors are as well. But a lot of times it's people, I follow, Corinne mentioned, I'm really into the woo-woo stuff. I'm fascinated by mediumship specifically. I dragged Corinne out to this guy who had a TV show, and we went to a Times Square reading. And I want to believe, I kind of have adjusted that a little bit lately, but it was such horseshit.
Yeah.
And I was so mad because I'm these people are crying. They lost a loved one. They lost a child. How could you do that? But then there's this other woman that I love. Her name's Laura Lynn Jackson. And she is the real deal. And it's crazy to me how in this one category of thing. Like there are people that are so legit and that could actually, these tools are super helpful for their lives. And then there's other ones that just are just horrendous. I'm like, how do you sleep at night? How are you okay with who you are doing that to people? It's crazy.
And I think it's such a fertile ground for like con artistry and like leveraging stuff. And I think like even any of the means, like if you're someone who's like, oh, mediumship is horseshit, you can't talk to dead people. Okay, well like, let's look at what someone's getting out of that experience. Sure. Let's separate whether it's true or not, and let's ask if it's useful.
Yeah.
And that, there are certainly like, even if you don't believe someone who goes to like a John Edwards show is actually talking to their dead nan, like if they leave that experience having some closure, then like, where is the harm there?
Yeah.
And I find that like there is a lot of argument about like what is actually true. But like, do you know what else isn't true? The economy. We've also made that up, but like it helps things function.
Yeah.
And I think the second like it tips over into exploitation, there's the line.
Yeah.
But like letting people have this thing like entirely separate from whether you believe it or not, is it useful? Is it like functional? Does it help them?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I get a lot of pushback from that. And it's crazy, like, I see comments on the Reels where people say, like, he's exploiting people. And I'm like, we're goofing and gaffing about, like, a guy whose chickens aren't laying eggs. Like, I'm not selling someone a curse removal service for $500.
Right.
Like, I'm not entertaining private readings. And it is like, we're having a fun time. And I think people's inability, and it's media literacy. It's the death of media literacy where we sort of we're picking apart like what is the purpose of this, like how are people interacting with it, and going from there as opposed to just saying, all right, that has to be bad and this has to be good because that's the only way we can understand things.
Yeah, you got to get that black and white thinking out of there. And I can even imagine too, even like a con artist person, the placebo effect is very powerful. So if they are told something by a guy who's a con artist, but they believe it, that could unfold into this beautiful thing for them down the road. Just no thanks to that person. But yeah, people wanting to believe things, I imagine, is also like a barrier.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's giving someone, the permission to believe in themselves and stuff. And I think we're often looking for that permission.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've uncovered in these shows, these readings? Or in your experience in general? Yeah,
so like in the shows, we had a lot of things like we captured it, and it's one of my favorite videos I've got on my YouTube channel of someone came to the show and they had found out that day they were pregnant with twins, and they were there with their daughter, and they hadn't told their daughter yet. So I'm on this train of like, oh, this is like some new news you've got. And it suddenly clicks in my brain, oh, I don't think anyone she's with knows.
Oh.
So I say like, hey, I can stop right now. I'm going to like write this down on a little pad and show you so that the audience know whether I'm right or wrong. But if you don't want anyone to know, we can just like keep that as a secret. Uh-huh. And she looks at her daughter and then looks at me and says, no, you can say.
Wow.
And like, that's how her daughter found out that she was about to have twin siblings.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
And like, and like an incredible moment, like crazy that I get to be involved in that story. That was wild. I had a woman last night who had discovered her co-workers were talking shit about her behind her back.
Juicy.
And she was going to invite them to her Halloween party and then confront all of them in her apartment.
Spooky.
And she was like, do you think it's a good idea? And I was like, no, like...
Now, was that psychic you, or was that you?
Yeah. Did you see like everybody in her house like just freaking out, or did you see like as a person?
Because like as the co-host of the show, I can just tell her that's
like,
a bad
don't
idea.
do that.
And a lot of that is like the balancing of like me being able to pick up these details from people's brains. Because it's like I just say to her like, okay, think of your question. I've got this. I've got like the conflict and I figure out all the bits. And then it's just human Peter that says like, you can't storm out of your own apartment. Like,
I know.
And it's a bad you don't want all that bad energy in your apartment. Like I don't allow people I don't think are good people in my home.
Yeah, and if they're talking shit about you and they choose to come to your Halloween party, fuck them.
That's crazy.
I said to her like, you need to think about like this. I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to feel incredible in the moment. But you then have to think about like the hour later and the day later and like what the actual outcome of this is.
Right.
And then psychic Peter kicks in and goes, and I know that nothing I say right now is going to dissuade you from doing this. So enjoy your party.
And also too, if we zoom out, like just psychologically speaking, the way humans operate, she's probably trying to get vengeance on an old like her dad or her mom, like was someone else hurt her worse than her coworkers. And she, through this situation, is trying to expend that energy. It seems that's unfortunately how a lot of humans operate.
You see patterns like that, and I think that's one of the things that like helps me a lot in doing the shows is like seeing people and having the sort of autistic pattern recognition of looking at someone and being like, oh, I know you because I see these patterns.
Yeah.
And that kicks in as well. And it's sort of easier to tap into someone much quicker.
Have you ever picked up someone was being cheated on and you told them? Or you didn't tell them?
I had the opposite. I had a woman who was at the show with her husband and she was thinking about whether she should leave him for her boyfriend. Oh. And I like stepped into this and immediately was like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, and just, I just lied and said, oh, I'm not getting anything from you. I'm just going to move on. Because I was like, I'm not entertaining this because also like it puts me in a personally dangerous situation because like one of the guys is there. Yeah. And the other one's going to find out what happened and one of them's going to want to kick the shit out of me.
Right. Also, like as a comic, like, you know, we get hecklers a lot and you can handle that a million different ways. And sometimes we handle it like, you know, just not jokingly and it just ruins the vibe in the whole room. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And like the show is already a bit of a roller coaster because it's like, entirely dependent on the audience. So like some shows it's very emotional and like people are crying and I'm like, you know, good to have this catharsis and also like, this is meant to be a comedy show. Yeah. Everyone, please stop crying.
No, I know. Sometimes people bring things are too heavy to the show, and I go, I don't think this was for our show.
Yeah, we do a lot of live interactive stuff with our show. We have one coming up in November, and we've had a couple times like somebody come up, like we're gonna prank call an ex. Like we want you to come out and tell us about somebody who like did you dirty, and we want a situation where we're all gonna be like fuck him, and we're gonna prank him like lightly, not anything too bad. And then she'll say something like, he assaulted me. And we're like, okay, we can't.
Or like, he's threatened to kill himself 15 times. Yeah. And we're like, we can't prank someone who's suicidal.
And then we
like,
have
what are you talking about?
We send them back to their chair.
Yeah.
Like, well, that sucked.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, so do you ever really, truly not feel anything? Or do you get something from everyone? Is there anyone just nothing going on?
Occasionally, like, I'll look at someone. Zen guy. And it is like, it's like a mixture of things. Like, yeah, sometimes it's just someone who's just there, just like, you know, no thoughts, just. And you occasionally meet those people in life and you're like, oh, what an amazing life you must lead to not be constantly racked by anxiety every second.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
And then sometimes it's that, like, you know, someone's been dragged along and they're just stonewalling. They're like, I don't want to think anything. I don't want to get involved.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, yeah, I respect that. Like, you know, I'll teasingly, like, pull people into the show who seem reluctant, but, like, there is a point where I'm like, okay, like we can stop playing now.
Right. Yeah. There's like a playful not believing, and then there's like a don't fuck with me, like not believing. And then like, what's the process of like turning on your power, or do you always have it like if you're having a conversation, I would imagine you need to not be reading people's minds so you can focus.
Yeah.
Here.
It's sort of like zoning in a little bit and just It's been an adjustment period, like touring so much more. Because like touring in the UK is so much easier than touring in America. Because it's tiny. So like, I can go back to my own bed every night if I want to in the UK. Whereas, like I've been on the road for 3 weeks at this point. Like,
it's a big ass country we got here.
Yeah, it's a lot of other people's energy on your energy.
I was going to ask, like, does that fuck with you? Like, sometimes we'll go to a concert and I'm like, I just need to sage myself.
Yeah, it is exhausting. And like, I did 2 weeks of shows in Florida, like 2 weeks ago. And the first week was lovely. And the second week, every show was a fucking nightmare.
Oh, how so?
Just every stereotype of like what people think Floridians are like.
I'm literally in a musical right now called Florida Man in Key West. And it is, wow, there's something special going down there.
One of the shows was in Key West.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And there was not a single man in that audience who could follow a simple instruction. But even to the point of like, hello, sir, what's your name? And then he would start telling me about his car, or I don't know. I don't give a like.
Oh my God.
I promise you, I've written this show, and all you need to do is say your name, and we can move on to the next bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just, there was like after shows like that where, because I start the show with like 40 minutes of other mind reading demonstrations before I get to the readings.
Oh, that's cool.
And just like then I'm starting the readings always like, oh, this is. Like 20 minutes in, I turned to the audience. I was like, I think I'm done here. Like,
did you say that?
Yeah.
Were they like, yeah, we think you're done too here, son?
Half of the audience like thought it was a joke.
Okay. Did you end the show?
No, I kept going, but I was just like, this is.
You guys aren't giving me anything.
This is miserable.
And was it miserable because they're just too in their own heads to actually connect with you for you to get an accurate reading?
I think there was a couple of very big groups. We
hate groups.
Yeah. If you're not a comic, like big groups feel like they
party.
Yeah, they dominate the energy of a room.
Well, really good comedy clubs make like usually cap it at like 8 or less.
Yeah.
But some comedy clubs just want to make money. So.
And also, yeah, like I've been doing more and more like theatre spaces as well. And it was truly like a group of like 40 people.
Oh,
Jesus.
That's too much.
And yeah, they had all come and they'd all been like very obviously day drinking and were constantly like trying to pull focus. And
oh my God.
Just, yeah, you go like, this show isn't about, like, I know you're 40 people, but also there's like 150 other people in this room.
Sure.
Yeah, that you want to entertain. When you say you demonstrate other mind reading things, how do you mean? I don't want to give anything away from the show.
Yeah, no, so like there's a portion where I like show like lie detection and I have people on stage.
Oh, so interesting.
And then like we play a game because like one of the questions I get asked a lot, especially like doing Vegas residencies as well, is like, oh, you must like gamble all the time. Okay. And like the truth is no, but like I quite like the fun game. So we play a series of gambling games with an audience member just so like I have a lockbox on stage and they lock up all of their shit in this lockbox. And there are 4 keys, only one unlocks the padlock. And we have audience members like use their intuition and eliminate 3 of the keys by putting them in the slot in the top of the lockbox. So we get to like, oh, you know, are we going to lock away your shit? So
yeah,
it is
that's
like,
fun.
It's low enough stakes that like they could just take the lockbox away at the end of the show. Like no one's going to die, but it's like a stakes enough that is like fun and
totally
interactive. And yeah, I will have a sense of which key it is, and then it is me hopefully gently guiding the person without them realizing to make sure they're picking the wrong.
Because I do think everybody everybody obviously has tuition, and I think that people don't know how to tap into it. So that's nice to give them a little exercise to kind of feel their way around the world a little better.
Yeah. Do you feel like everyone, you know, like do you feel like everyone can like strengthen their intuition to a level where they appear to be psychic, or just some people just not have it, even if they worked for the rest of their lives?
I often describe it like learning a musical instrument. Like, you know, some people can just pick up a guitar and they're incredible, and some people can learn for 20 years and they can just about play Wonderwall. Like, I think anyone can do it, but like there are just some people who have a natural aptitude. And I think a lot of it is like actually being interested in other people, like being willing to center love them. And then like, I think everyone that I've ever encountered that's very interested in divination, it also has some sort of anxiety disorder because
that's so funny.
Because I think it is like the desire to know what's happening in the future is to have that comfort.
Yeah.
So you're drawn towards those things by saying like, right, how do I not feel absolutely wrecked every second of the day that life is chaos?
Yeah, because I kind of have a joke about that. It's more about crystals, but like it's about everything. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't believe in them because I've never met anyone doing crystals who has crystals who's doing well. And like it is a joke, but it also is based in truth. And like sometimes that even though I'm interested in this stuff and it makes me want to believe, everyone who I meet who is super into it, then you go, if this is like this is everyone is like this, no one seems to be doing okay.
And it's every life coach you've ever met where you're like, so heal yourself before.
Yeah. Oh, you need therapy, girl.
Yeah.
And I think, it's those things that like just get you through the day. And I think it is that tipping over when you're like, oh, this helps me understand, like, you know, going to a psychic every now and then to be like, oh, I just want to reflect and have a fun time. Fine. But when it's like anything, when you go like, I need this to know.
Yeah. The meaning you subscribe to it is all the difference, I imagine. Because some people, like you're talking about, Corinne, so many people put too much meaning into this and they cling to the tarot cards and they cling to what they mean and have it be black and white.
And I always say, like, I used to say when I did the private readings and in the show, I say, like, you know, like, I'm going to tell you what I'm getting. If I'm wrong, just say no. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't mind being wrong. And if I say something and like, I can only get to like, I do like maybe 12, 15 readings in a show.
That's a lot, man.
And like, I try and I think like being on the phone lines was good training for that, to be like, let's just get to the point as quickly as possible.
Sure.
Because if someone's paid for 10 minutes and we don't get anywhere, they're going to complain, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's 10% of the room some days. And like, I want to get to everyone. So I say to them like, hey, if I'm giving someone else a reading and you hear something that really resonates with you, take it.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't have to be for you.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have to be about your life. You can go, oh, that's a bit like me. I'll take that.
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah. Laura Lynn Jackson would say that. I've been to like 6 of her. She does these 90-person readings in Long Island in the Spiritual Center. And she'll say, she'll get she calls it a me too. Like if I say something and it's the same situation, and she says like you could say me too if I'm saying something that resonates with you, and then there's something she'll say and like the whole room will go, oh my God, me too. And then she'll find that like people in similar situations sit next to each other, like people who've just lost a spouse or something. And I'm like, that's so interesting. How do you believe in like spirit guides?
I am very on the fence with all of that. And I've had a lot of interesting experience. Like I know a bunch of mediums. Like it's not something I've ever experienced. And like that's one of the other reasons that like psychic is in inverted commas, because I know that when people see psychic, they often immediately go, oh, medium. Oh. And trying to like educate that mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. You guys don't know that? Come on now.
And and it is sort of, and even with like the instructions, I have an audio that plays at the start of the show that says, right, I want everyone to think of a question you'd have to ask a psychic, the sort of thing you'd call up a psychic phone line about, but do keep in mind it's a comedy show, so nothing too depressing. Like, nothing about dead people, nothing about your health conditions, but like, if it's messy, if it's like a piece of gossip, like something like that, something fun, fair game.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And even then, I'll sometimes tune in with someone and they're just like, but everyone that's dead that I know. And I'm like, I can't help you.
Bro, did you not hear me?
It's hard to get it off your mind though, if that is your situation. I get it.
Yeah, and I try my best to like in all of the messaging make it very clear, like we're not doing dead people. That's like, if you want to do that, like there are a bunch of other people that are great at it. That's not my bag.
That's not your area of expertise.
Well, it's good to know your lane, and to educate other people.
I think it's really easy for people that like are in the sort of the woo spaces to suddenly become like a Swiss Army psychic as well and be like, oh, and I can talk to this and I can do this, because they're all like slightly overlapping.
Yeah. Well, it must be hard to not start believing your own hype if people are crying, in your arms nightly.
Yeah, it's I think nothing is better for the ego than going back to the green rooms that some comedy clubs have after the show. And you're like, I crushed it. And then you walk in and it's an empty room with a single chair. And you go, oh, yeah, I'm not.
If you're lucky, it has a door. Shit. You're not in the office with the same guy writing your check. That's my favorite. When you're just like,
hey, is W9
right now?
And I spent a lot of my 20s hosting burlesque shows in the UK.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, fun.
So I was on a burlesque tour for like 4 years. So it would play in the biggest theatres in the UK. This, 3,000 people have come to watch a burlesque show.
Wow.
I'm the first person they see. And you can feel the audience be like, oh no.
You're not a hot chick, yeah.
And so that was very good at like destroying any sort of ego I have there of like, oh, no one's come for this. Like, let me work for it. And even now when people have like bought tickets to see me and have like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. Like I did a show in Vancouver a couple of months ago. And someone had flown from Toronto because I didn't have any other Canadian dates.
Oh, wow.
They really wanted an answer.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is bonkers to me. Like, don't do, I'll probably be nearer to you. Like, don't do that. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I still have like the like embarrassment about like being someone.
That's very British of you.
Yeah.
They need to get away from something.
Yeah.
Also, do you have the law in the UK about like it has to be like, do you have to note that it's for entertainment purposes the way we have in the US?
I think that is like slightly weaker. Like TV shows do it. There's not really any medium shows on British television anymore. We had a couple.
Really? Because England, I find, is like very spiritual. I'm also into the alien thing. I'm just very curious about that one. England has a lot going on. England's like a weird little vortex of energy.
Yeah, I think like it's a weird place where like religion is sort of dead in the UK.
Interesting.
Where like it's a very different cultural experience. Like in the UK, loudly proclaiming how much you believe in Jesus and stuff is kind of like saying to someone like, oh, I'm really into BDSM. You'd be like, okay, like that's fine, but don't tell me about it.
Right.
It's like, whereas, like over here, it was a whiplash to be like, oh, this is something people like.
It's Christ or die. Yeah.
But there is a lot of like alternative belief systems that have like popped up in its place because people need structure to how they exist in the world.
Yeah.
And whether that is, crystals or like being a diehard atheist and like turning science into a religion instead. Like there is that structure that exists that we've not quite got rid of yet.
Mm-hmm. When you tune into people, do you feel their feelings or do you just get thoughts? Like, is it like a steady stream of calm thoughts?
Yeah, it kind of varies. So like if someone It depends on also like how I'm feeling that day as well.
Yeah,
like if I've had like a bad day and I'm a bit emotional, like it's very easy just to like pick up other people's emotions.
Oh, it's easier for you. You don't remain guarded. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Whereas like if I'm just like, oh, chill, and I can logic my way through it.
Yeah.
And it's that same way of like, you know, when you've had a bad day and suddenly you put on the television and there's an advert for a long distance provider and suddenly you're crying at the fact that.
Yeah. You just
like
at a Starbucks and a song comes on and you're like, no.
Yeah. And it's the same sort of experience but I always try and like, even on those days when I'm sort of slightly more guarded, it's always in the back of my head of like, you know, this is a person, this is a real emotion. Like you can't fuck around with this.
Yeah. Do you have off days where you can't, like your powers, your abilities kind of just feel far away from you?
Yeah. And it is a lot of the structuring of the show is having to figure out how to give a consistent product.
Right.
When there are some.
You can't be canceling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't be like, oh, you know, the powers just didn't turn up this day. Like, so
but
like.
Sometimes that does happen, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, sometimes it feels like pulling teeth and like, I have an assistant that I onboarded at the start of this year because I just like could not maintain the level of admin. So she doesn't travel with me, but like I'll just send her an update after every show.
Yeah.
And it is very good to have someone else who I can just ring up and be like, oh, I think I should retire. That was the worst show I've ever done.
Oh. Right.
And she is like separate enough from it that she can be like, no, just shut up.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine.
Keep going.
And
I mean, also too, if you think about it, like people going to see an event such as this, as somebody who's seen many events of this nature, I mean, I guess that's the own person's responsibility that you can't really control, but you have to kind of check your own expectations of like, I'm purchasing a show to see a person give a group reading that's just so, like, it's there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
Even when I see like Laura Lynn Jackson, who I've seen so many times blow me away, I'm like, that doesn't mean she doesn't, she can't have an off night.
I think that is like, again, like a very performer perspective though, because like we know what it's
you're
like.
only as good as your last show.
Yeah. Whereas like, audiences expect like, oh, this is the McDonald's of entertainment. Like this burger has to be the same every time.
Yeah, they don't care about the fucking process.
Yeah.
So let's get into your personal life before we do a reading. You mentioned, I think this is so funny. You have to you toy with this like desire to feel mysterious and in a romantic relationship. I assume that's what you meant.
Yeah, I think like there is the expectation like when they've seen the show, like I am someone who is like doling out advice and like seeing people, and there is this like sort of smoke and mirrors. And I think it's the same with any performer. Like the person you see on stage is not that person.
Yeah.
It is like the perfectly curated version of that person.
Yeah.
That has been like road tested in front of hundreds of audiences to be like, oh, you like me when I say this. Okay, I understand.
That's so funny because it's the complete opposite as a stand-up comedian. This is the worst version of me that you're going to see.
And I'm going to lean in.
I would never allow anyone to see my stand-up before they knew me in person if I like thought dating was on the table. That would be like so
most
crazy.
Comics do that. Well, female comics, I would say.
Yeah, that would be so crazy.
But you have anxieties.
Yeah.
Around what? Like what are your main anxieties?
I think just like, like the me on stage is the most like, I was thinking of it like a duck. Like I'm very calm on the surface, everything's fine. And then like actual Peter is the mad pedaling underneath.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have to like mask all the time.
Oh my God,
give
no, it's so
like
exhausting.
that experience of just being like, oh, I'm calm and I know what's going on. Like,
yeah.
And I think that is
showing someone your messy side can be a little anxiety inducing.
And I think that like, meeting someone at the show always feels like a bit of a no-go for me as well. Because like there is that power imbalance and like I just don't like any of it.
Yeah, it feels weird. It feels very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, male comics do that a lot. And now, like I've had a couple guys hit on me after the show. I'm like, no, we cannot. No, it just feels too weird.
Yeah.
What when you get like, what's your messiest, Peter? What's messiest Peter do?
I'm like a very anxious person. It's taken like a very long time to like get a handle of that. And there are like ways that I've like grown out of it and then ways that I've just like coped with. Like I am terrified of bed bugs, like traveling around. It's like a big concern for me.
Okay.
So I have like a whole bed bug routine when I book the hotels, I'm checking all the reviews, but then like I do a full room check. And then anything that goes into the hotel room with me goes in a black garbage bag, like a contractor bag that goes in the bath. And then I'm wandering around the hotel room butt naked until it's time to leave.
Okay.
And then like,
check
and those things where I'm
dots.
like, oh, I know that that's like unhinged thinking.
Yeah.
And also that's a thing that allows me to operate in the job that I do. and you go like, oh, like having someone else see those moments where I'm like, oh, this is just how I need to deal with this mental illness.
Yeah.
Right. Why specifically bed bugs? Have you ever had an experience with that?
I've had a couple of like weird experiences with bed bugs, and like I know how hard they are to get rid of and stuff. And like my apartment is like, the place that I can fully just like unclench, everything's okay. And I need to maintain that as like a sanctuary space that I can like not have to worry about. And the idea of like, because I don't care about being bitten by bed bugs. I care about bringing them back to my apartment.
Sure.
And then not having a like place where I'm like, this is clean and tidy. And like,
it's a nightmare. There's no arguing that.
Yeah. New York, I've known a few New Yorkers who've had bed bug ordeals, and they cry. There's a lot of tears involved. It's very stressful. So that makes sense.
And they're so difficult to get rid of. You have to throw away a bunch of stuff because like they really like the glue in books. So like you have
the books?
Yeah.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Oh, if bed bugs got to my books, I would cry.
Yeah. So it's like, and there's like loads of bits like that where I'm just like.
But is this isolated, or do you have obsessive compulsive disorder? And I'm asking that as someone who has obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah, I think I just have like general anxiety disorder. Like it took me, until the last like 3 years, I would have like the worst like existential dread panic attacks that would last for weeks sometimes.
Right. Wow.
And
weeks.
Damn. And just like performing was the only thing that would kick me out of it for that time. And then I go back. And I think that was also really difficult for partners to see, because they'd be like, well, you're fine there. And I'm like, like.
Yeah, the stage is better than, deal with it.
Duh. Yeah.
And then,
I think every performer feels that.
Yeah, I was going to say, this. You're speaking to the crowd. This is very,
Yeah, a friend of mine always described it as doctor stage. Like, it doesn't matter what's wrong with you. You go to doctor stage and you feel better for a bit.
Yes, it's cathartic. You can be yourself. Also, too, you're beloved in the audience. They're excited. They want you to do well. And that's a nice little energy exchange.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why the stage, you can be like safely the best version.
And then you go away and you're straight back to being like, oh God, I can't breathe.
This sucks. This again? Yeah.
And like I stopped drinking caffeine in 2013 for that reason as well, because like I was on the burlesque tour, I was just living on caffeine, and then like that was contributing to these week-long panic attacks. So I was like, oh, I know I can't do moderation, so I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. Do you meditate?
Every now and then.
Yeah.
I find the like...
It's a little scary, especially if you have anxiety. It could be a little...
Yeah, I much more prefer like sort of zoning out in a task, so like sort of active meditation, like like sit and just like don't think of anything. No, but like go and like paint this thing or like do this thing, and like that sort of much more active meditation, which I think is also like a much more achievable thing for people to get on board with as well. Like 100%. I think when you say to someone like, oh, consider meditation, they're thinking like sat in the lotus position, like, and you go like, no, it can just be like, paint a wall in your house and just like don't. And I find like driving quite useful like that as well. Like, okay, I'm in charge of this giant death machine.
Yeah.
And I just need to drive 300 miles to the next show and not die.
No pressure.
I know. That's why I'm like, I don't have a lot of anxiety around a lot of things, which is weird because I do have OCD, which is like in the anxiety disorder, but I don't like feel anxiety a ton. But like driving, I think it's fucking crazy that everyone's just driving around. Yeah.
I also
like, this is very high stakes, people.
I didn't learn to drive until 2022 as well, because I like didn't need to in the UK. I could tour on trains and buses and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got to America and I was like, oh shit, I need to drive.
In some states, the drivers are on meth.
I really like driving in New York City.
I do too.
Because like I know that everyone's in a rush and they're all pushing, but like there is a logic to it. Whereas like driving in LA, it's like everyone's in a rush, but they've forgotten where they're going.
They're all stoned. Yeah.
And they're weaving in and out and stuff. Whereas like I think as well, growing up in London, like when I'm in New York, I'm like, oh, I understand this city.
Right.
Like, it is.
I would say London and New York have the most in common out of all the cities for sure. That's really so. Have you had what does your relationship history look like? Have you had long-term relationships?
Yeah, it's mostly like long-term relationship to long-term relationship, and almost none of them have been in the performing field. Like my longest ex was a director. That was sort of the closest we got, and it is that ongoing challenge of like wanting to be with someone who like understands the industry, but then also being like, oh, but like dating another comic seems...
Yeah, it can be a lot.
Yeah, it can be messy and like don't shit where you eat.
Who is it says one headshot per relationship?
One headshot per relationship.
Yeah, it's British Watch.
So a director really wouldn't have, I mean, like they would have some kind of a press photo, but not a headshot in that sense.
Yeah. No photo shoots. And did they see your anxieties and did that go okay?
Yeah, it was... okay for a while. I think, but then like they had their own issues as well that sort of began to grow as well. And it was...
Yeah. And then it just, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It blows up in your face and you're like, ah.
Yeah, there's two people going through things at the same time. And like, we're still very cordial. Like, there's no hard feelings, but I think we both were just like, we can't both be having a breakdown at the same time.
Right. I know. So annoying. Do you one breakdown at a time?
Do you find like that there's any kind of a pattern in your relationships, like feedback that you're consistently getting from your exes that you're like, oh, okay, well, I probably should fix that because if everyone's giving me the same feedback, then certainly it's true.
I know that like really focusing on my job is like a big feedback. Like
that's negative.
Women hate that.
Like you're away a lot. Like this is something.
You're signing up for that though.
Yeah, and I think I'm always like back and forth on that because I'm like, and then when I am home, like if I've got a week off, I don't want to go on vacation. I want to stay at home and like nest and have that sort of experience.
Yeah, refresh.
And I understand like if you are working a 9 to 5 in an office, like vacation means going somewhere.
Yeah.
And it is just like an incompatibility that like I wrestled a lot with, like, am I in the wrong for this? And then had to just be like, no, it's just, we're just on different paths and like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea, like your silence is very sacred. So to have like and especially your specific art involves so much energy of your emotions and stuff that you just want to stare at a wall at the end of the day, I imagine. That's really cool. So you want to do a reading?
Yeah, okay. So if you formulate a question in your mind, I'll do my best. I will not necessarily get exactly what you're focusing on. I'll do my best to sort of tap in here and there. And again, same thing, like if I'm on a path where you're like, not for the podcast, if there is any subject not for the podcast anymore. But
I'm a pretty open book,
Yeah. So as I say, when most people think of a question, it's about like sort of travel, health, education, romance, career, ambition, money. It's going to be romance because that's the theme of the podcast. So, and you are in nothing but a professional, so stay on brand, keep pushing forward. And this is a feeling of much more of like a rug pull situation. Like you are, I don't think that there has been a rug pulled currently, but it feels like you've got that anxiety at the moment where you're anticipating a rug pull.
Sure.
Because your pattern recognition, you're seeing it again and again, and you're like, oh, this is the point where something happens always. And you are beginning to build up a suit of armor. This feels like you're starting to distance from people. And I do not just, you seeing someone at the moment, this feels like, I do not think just distance with them, but almost distance with everyone. Because I think that you're trying to process a situation. And this feels like you intellectualizing something before it happens. So you can avoid feeling the emotion because you've been through this emotion before. So you're like, oh, I understand this. So let me think through it so that when it happens, I'm not going to feel as sad. And in your head, it almost feels like it happened. It's already, like you're already on the path of like, oh, this is, I don't know if they're watching. Like this is like you anticipating a breakup almost.
Sure.
And you being like, oh, let me just work through that, like pre-game the breakup. And I think, but you've not brought this up with them in like...
It has. That's a yes. So I have. Yeah.
This feels like you've been holding back on this though. I don't think that this doesn't feel like you've expressed, this feels like you've been doing your PR version of this conversation.
Sure.
Much more than like, actually, this is what I think.
Yeah.
And I think because you've put this guard up, this is because you're doing like, I don't want to be vulnerable in this section.
Right.
When actually what you're saying is, I don't want to be weak in this moment. Whereas the vulnerability doesn't necessarily save the relationship, but it makes this transition better because vulnerability is not about being weak. And again, I think this whole situation is you knowing things intellectually, but not feeling them emotionally, and that's the disjoint. And that feels like something that crops up a lot for you, is that you're like, I know this, like why the fuck do I feel this? This feels like a sentence you'd say to your therapist a lot, of just like, why do I feel like this? Because I know this is stupid. And like, the way that this is feeling is like, you're on the edge of this, you're already looking at the next thing. And you're like, I want like the final relationship, the one that lasts long. And even though you've got someone at the moment, you've kind of like, right, delete, thank you, next. The full Ariana Grande vibes.
Yeah.
And you just want to know whether like that's for you or whether you have to keep doing this little pattern again.
Yeah.
And I think that like it's we're always slightly doomed to repeat those patterns until we break them. And I think that this like moving from intellectually knowing to feeling it and separating that like vulnerability and weak. Because you're like a very powerful person who talks about things and like knows and is open. And I think that can become a bit of a smokescreen because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm open about everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, the razzle dazzle, then you're hiding the things that like you actually want to talk about because like, oh, I was open about all of that stuff. Don't look in that box.
Sure.
And I think it's that box that unlocks like a longer relationship.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of the thought here of like, you know, for lasting romance, it's about you've dropped one mask, but surprise, it's like at the end of a fucking Scooby-Doo episode with you that there is a second mask that you've been holding back.
Yeah.
And I think like as wonderful as like the vibe of this podcast and the way that you approach that is, it's formed like a useful distraction from you actually having to be like, oh, and now I'm going to be vulnerable. And I think that's kind of the route forward here.
Yeah.
I think that, you have somewhat checked out of this relationship at the moment. And I think having more of an honest discussion, because I think when you're having this discussion, you're telling them how you feel. What you're admitting is those areas where you don't know, when you're like, I have this and I don't know what to do with it.
Sure.
Because that feels unkind to say to someone else. But I think that is the point that breaks this cycle of not really communicating.
Saying the thing that might be unkind?
I think clear is kind. And the messiness is part of the communication. And I think so often what we want to do is say, I feel this way, declarative statement. And actually like, that's again like a smokescreen from being like, hey, I have these conflicting feelings and we are in a partnership and I want to hand you both of these and say, right, how do we pick this apart? Whereas what you're trying to do is, hand a declarative statement to someone. And I think beginning to just say like, hey, here's a messy thought. And that's the vulnerability there that you've kind of been like clenching onto.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good. Can I read my question? Can I tell you my question?
Yeah.
My question I wrote down before we started talking is genuine love in the cards for me?
Genuine love in the cards.
Genuine romantic love ever in the cards.
Okay, I was wondering how heavy yours, like how broad and heavy your question was, or if it was like specific. Because I always ask like crazy big questions.
Yeah.
And then I feel like a lot of times this kind of work is working in much smaller pieces.
Yeah.
And like obviously because the universe isn't going to give us a big answer at once,
or an instruction manual.
Well, because it's kind of like that's like we can't cheat, the misery of this world.
I know it's all I want to do though.
So what can you? I mean, because I was mostly I kind of know Krystyna well enough to know what her face was looking like during that. But like, what I was trying to watch you because what can you tell us without? I don't expect you to give away what you're doing, but like, is there anything that you can walk us through and how? Because that was pretty accurate, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So to recap, so like you said, you wrote it down. Like I said to you before we start recording, like just get a question in mind,
right?
Yeah.
Because I found, especially in situations like this, people are so focused on being like the presenter that they lose track of who they are as a person. So it's really useful just to say like, hey, think of something, maybe note it down. Like, but to be clear, like you didn't tell me.
No.
And are you? And while we're interviewing you, like because that was written at the top of this, is that in your mind, or are you?
No, not at all. Yeah, when I start, that's when I drop it.
Okay.
And then having like a phrasing to a question, because when you have someone like think about something in their life, you get like your experience of like everything big.
Yeah.
Whereas when you say like, right, no, boil it down to a question you could ask, then people start labeling what they actually want to know, which reduces the size of what they're focusing on.
Sure.
And then like you can begin to pick apart that question because almost always people are asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
So it's about like forcing someone to decide on a question so then we can pick that apart and say, what are you actually saying here?
Okay.
So like lasting romance is not like the actual question that you're asking there.
Yeah.
It's about having this pattern that you're repeating.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm pretty clear on this current relationship is kibosh.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty clear to me. But then my question is so woe is me. It's like, is it ever going to happen? Not that I sit around waiting for it, but it's like, the pattern of like just love being kind of not really all there. You know?
Yeah, and I think, it's a lot about that. And so as I'm like sort of zoning into like the areas, it feels like You know those like old 90s computer games where they've got like the fog because they couldn't render the whole map. So like you've got like the little fog, and it's a little bit like that as I'm going down the path and going like, okay, it's this. And then the next bit comes to me and I've got, you know, like, and it's often like little mental images in my head as well of just like, this little box that's like, you know, don't look at that. And sometimes I'll say that to people and it's like a good metaphor. And sometimes like I'll be on a reading and I'll say something like, oh, and then there's like, it's like a butterfly of an idea, and they'll be like, fuck, I have a butterfly tattoo, and that means that to me. And it's like,
it really means
bang,
something.
yeah.
Because obviously, like you're looking at her, and like if something's connecting, you're gonna then draw on that, right?
Yeah, and like I'm also very adamant in the shows as well that like people are allowed to say no to me. Like I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But often I will stick with an idea because I'm like, no, I'm getting this, and like if the answer is no at the end of this, fine. But I'm going to dig in a little bit more because it is often you'll find people that will say like, no. And I'm like, okay, I think you're saying no context. And I want to like specify this a little more.
Because it knocks at your door, so to speak.
So like there where you're like, no, we have had the conversation. And I'm like, no, but there's a conversation not being had here.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is in like my poor expression of a thought to someone else. Or sometimes that is someone like pushing away of being like, yes, like we've talked, but like, have I said the thing I want to say? And those kind of overlap against each other. And I'm trying to get to one point and someone's being like, no, we have talked. And I'm like, okay, but really though.
Right.
Yeah.
And I found like very useful in the show, sometimes when someone is not engaging with something that like I feel really strongly about getting from them.
Sure.
I'll just look over my glasses at them and instantly they go, yeah, no, you're right. Like I did.
That's so funny.
They can't escape it.
Yeah. And I think
funny.
like, it's, if you want to say no, like, as I say, like, I'm fine with being wrong. I've been wrong more time. When I did America's Got Talent, I was wrong on live television in front of 18 million people. Like,
are you serious?
Yeah.
Fuck.
So Sophia, that she grabbed a photo from a packet of photos, and the idea was like doing like psychometry with photos. Like, I wanted her to look at the photo and think about it. And she had just been planning her son's birthday before they went live. So she'd like been on the calls. And like, that's what I got as opposed to like what she was looking at.
Oh, okay.
So I went down this path of like, oh, you're thinking about a birthday and like cake and stuff. So then like, you know, in the 6 minutes you have on NBC, you kind of go, well, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then like in a show situation, I would have dug more into that to be like, okay, like that's not what you're looking at. But like,
you were right. Though.
Yeah, but like to a watching audience, they go, look, the goal was you think of a photo, focus on that photo, and I'm going to try and pick up the emotions from that.
But like, I feel like sometimes people, especially like in this instance, it's like, okay, well, like maybe she was half-heartedly thinking about the photo, but like what was really weighing on her was her son's birthday party, because even when you're at work, you have other things going on in your life. So like, there's been many times when I'm here doing the show, but like I'm thinking of my, sorry, I know you don't like this dead dad, but like, you know, so like,
he's allowed to be dead.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You.
But yeah, like, you know, so, but it's like, I'm still participating. It's not that I don't care. It's just like something else is heavier, you know? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you were not wrong.
Yeah, you weren't wrong.
Yeah. And it's,
right.
and I think, I'll sometimes dig in and like, occasionally I go like, you know what, we're going to come back to that in a minute, because like sometimes it will make sense once I've gone around. And I know that sometimes that's just a limitation in my ability to explain an idea I'm having to someone else.
Yeah.
And like,
well, that's so like that's stand-up comedy 101. I'm like, when you're like working out a new joke and you're trying to explain, like have the audience see it from your viewpoint, and you're like, I know this is funny, I just have to figure out how to phrase it to you so that you can come on the journey with me.
And then also I'm doing the like British English to American English thing as well.
Oh, right.
So like,
problem.
There will be occasions where I'm like, oh, I have a metaphor for this, but it is about a 1970s BBC children's show.
We're not going to get
so I'm like, right, how do I explain this?
Right.
I explained the plot of the 1976 film Network to the audience yesterday, because I was like,
movie.
Someone was wondering whether Kanye West is doing a bit.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
It's a long
question.
bit.
And I was trying to like elaborate on like the state of media and like, hey, no, like this person is having a breakdown and the powers that be around him have gone, this is good money.
Yeah.
Right.
And like it just like the audience weren't really understanding the like the cold-heartedness of the media in that way.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, let me tell you a story. And then I realized I was just explaining a movie from the 70s to an audience. And I was like, this is further away from you understanding at this point. I need to just stop. But like, it's not a bit, just a man is very unwell.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how how much the entertainment business, and I would say politics too, how much of an effect and a relationship they have with our lives, and how little the people who are not involved in either of those things understand it. Like, and they think you're crazy. Like, because I've been involved in both. And then I'm just like, people just think you're crazy when you try to tell the truth about either one.
I often try and explain this to people, like, I want people to understand media literacy like they understand professional wrestling. That you know, there is a kayfabe.
Good American reference.
Yeah, they are doing a performance, but also like that person who is pretending to be Hulk Hogan is not actually called Hulk Hogan. They do not actually think you should take your vitamins.
Right.
And like we all need to understand that like this is a bit of a game. And like it's very evident in the British politics scene where like the leaders of the two parties are like, we'll go for dinner with each other. And like they all went to the same school. Like,
for sure.
And this whole like posturing is a performance put on for our benefit.
Right.
And like understanding it like that and being like, oh, even if that person isn't putting a performance, they're being put in a situation where, and it is, like the reality TVification of everything.
Yeah.
Wait, can I ask a psychic question about America?
We're screwed.
We're going to be okay.
No, we're fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked, right? It's pretty, I mean, you don't really need psychics for that, but like
my lawyer
it doesn't feel like it's getting better.
My lawyer called me the other day and was like, oh, you're eligible for citizenship next month. And I was like,
hard pass.
Okay.
Well, you're white presenting, so that's in your favor.
Yeah, I get, every time I go through immigration, I have a bit of an ordeal.
Really? You have a big beard?
I was flagged. Because
you could be maybe not white in their eyes, maybe, and they might use that against you.
So, exclusive story time from Peter Antoniou.
Wow.
In 2018, I was detained by ICE for 3 days.
What?
And put in a detention center.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was dating someone in Seattle. I was on the burlesque tour, so we'd do 2-3 months on, and then I'd have a month off. So I'd just fly over to Seattle and hang out with my partner and enjoy being there. And then I visited and they were like, they pulled me out of the line. I didn't even get to the front of the line for immigration. They said, you come with us. And they were like, hey, we think you're working in America. And I said, I'm not. Like, I had done a volunteer performance for a charity event, which under the rules of the tourist visa is acceptable. You're allowed to volunteer.
Okay, yeah.
You just can't be paid for it.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't do that. Like, and they said, okay, we don't care.
Cute.
We think you're working. We have enough suspicion that you are working, so we can deny you entry to the United States, and we're going to.
Oh.
And because you have to fly out on an airline you flew in on, and you flew in on Norwegian Air, and they don't fly for 3 days, you're going to be sent to an ICE detention center for 3 days and then removed. And I was officially charged with traveling under the wrong visa, so I was not banned from America.
Oh my god!
But like, it took a lot of work to be allowed back in.
So that stain is on your records.
Every time I go through, they are, come to the little room, let's look at all your paperwork.
Wow.
So it is.
How was that ICE facility? What was it like?
It was exactly like you'd imagine, like every prison movie you've ever seen. Like they handcuffed me, led me through the airport, prisoner transport van, taken to the detention center.
I actually didn't imagine that. I just thought you were sitting in a room with bright lights.
No, chest x-ray to make sure I didn't have tuberculosis because I looked like a man who hangs out with badgers. And then put into the cell block. There was maybe 60 people in that cell block.
Wow.
They all told me their stories of how they ended up there. There was.
Were you I'm a psychic. You want to get entertained?
Well, on the second day, they said to me so what do you do as a job?
Oh, that's.
And I was like, saying psychic in this instant feels wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm kind of a magician. Because I was like, this is close enough without having to get into it.
Right.
And then one of them gave me a deck of cards that they'd bought from the commissary and were like, show us some card tricks.
Oh.
And thankfully, one of my best friends is an incredible card magician. So he's taught me a couple of very basic tricks.
Wow. Okay.
So I start doing tricks for him. And within 5 minutes, the entire cell block is around me.
Good for you.
Screaming witch?
Well, there is a guy there's a guy translating in Spanish on one side of me.
Oh my God, this is so
There's
fun.
This is a great gig.
Yeah, guy translating into Punjabi on the other side of me for his family. And then we do 10 minutes. And then the guards come around and say, we don't know what this is, but break it up. Like, we don't like
There's
this.
no fun here.
Yeah, we don't like the whole cell block being gathered, talking, like, this is suspicious, break it up. But yeah, and then...
Wow.
So yeah, anytime I travel, it is a stress. And yeah, like, it's a lot.
So speaking of travel, you are currently on tour. So this interview is coming out on Friday for Luminary subscribers. They're our hardcore ride or die, so they'll go see you.
Love you.
Where will you be coming up? Where can we find you?
So from November until the end of January, I'm in Vegas, opening for a magician from America's Got Talent, Shin Lim. So I get to host the show there, which is great. It's like a little break from being on tour.
Yeah.
I don't have to travel as much. It's great getting to do like 20 minutes in a show instead of the full 90.
Yeah.
It's a very different show than I do on the road. Like, there's no readings. It's all very light and fun.
Cool.
There's a couple of shows intermittently because the show's dark for a week here or there. So I'll go on the road. And then I am traveling basically every week in 2026.
Amazing.
If you live somewhere, I'm going to be close to there.
Yeah.
So it'll be
the US you're touring?
Yeah, the US. So all over the US. We're trying to do some UK dates at the end of the year.
Good, yeah.
And then we've been looking at Australia for 2027. I know that's a long time away, but like these things take time. But yeah, it's peterantonio.com/tickets. I never know where I am. Even if you see me on the street and say, where are you going tomorrow? I will pull up my tour website to tell you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's good. You're a working artist. I love that.
Yeah. So we're going everywhere. I get endless comments on Facebook being like, when are you coming to my town? I promise it's soon. Like, I'm one man traveling 6 days a week. I'll get to you, I promise.
Doing the best you can.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Peter. This
has been
Thanks
great.
for telling us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great. This has been Guys We Fucked, the anti-slut shaming podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday.